Welcome to Spill the Trauma, Keep the Drama. I'm your host, Kayla. As always, I do want to remind you guys that I'm not a licensed professional. If you are seeking mental health help, you should definitely reach out to a licensed professional. If you need help finding resources, you can definitely hit me up. I'm always happy to help. My DMs are always open, and my handle everywhere is Spill the Trauma, Keep the Drama. Let's spill some trauma. Boomers and my parents' generation love to say we have no reason to be depressed or anxious. But are they living in the same world we are? Just because someone else has it worse doesn't erase our pain. And sorry, but using your unprocessed trauma as an excuse to be an asshole doesn't make you strong. It just makes you a part of the problem. I've been in therapy since middle school. They disguised it as a support group so parents wouldn't freak out, but we all knew it was a venting session for us all to bitch about how much our family sucked. That was my first experience with therapy. It was group therapy because I came from a broken family. Weirdly enough, my birth giver was fine with school therapists, but the second I sought help on my own, she had a complete meltdown. So I was in therapy up until I graduated from high school, and then in college, I was drowning. Depression, anxiety, playing therapist for my family. So I did what they never would. I sought out help. Finding a new therapist is one of my least favorite things on the planet because you have to make sure if you vibe with the person, you have to make sure you can confide in the person and tell them your shit and feel comfortable with that. You have to make sure they get you because sometimes therapists from other cultures don't really get what you're going through, and that can be difficult, and it can be a lot to also tell them everything to get them caught up to where you are. So it's definitely a process. It's definitely trial and error because I had to go through a couple of therapists, especially back then. I had to go through a couple of therapists before I found one that got me and that was actually helping me. And I remember when I finally found the guy that was able to help me, I would leave sessions sobbing, but for the first time in my life, I would feel physically lighter, just like how I do with this podcast. That was the first sneak peek of feeling lighter after venting. And I remember feeling oh my gosh, wow, therapy really works. When I first got into therapy, they did one of those tests, and my generalized anxiety disorder was really high, the score, as well as my depression test score. It was also really high. So they were this girl needs meds ASAP. And when you are dealing with a dumpster fire 24/7, your brain chemicals do need backup. I didn't tell my mom I was going to therapy because I remember trying to talk to her about it, and she was no, you're just doing this for attention. You don't need help. You don't need therapy. You just need to chill. And I was thanks. So then I went and found a therapist, and she was picking up another medication for me, and they also gave her the antidepressants and the anti-anxiety med, and she called me bugging out, and she was these increased suicidal thoughts. If you're already suicidal, why'd they put you on this? And I was if these increased suicidal thoughts, so does living like this. And I had to fight for myself and be no, I'm not doing this for attention. I'm doing this to help myself. And she didn't really get it, but I kept going. I kept doing the meds. Again, with meds, it's a trial and error kind of thing, which can be scary with meds, but you just have to find what works for you. I remember taking Wellbutrin, which is something a lot of people take for depression, and for me personally, it would make me faint. So I had to figure that out the hard way. But just make sure that you're doing it guided with the psychiatrist's help, and they'll make sure that you're okay. Also, I'm not gonna say that I'm pro Big Pharma or I'm against Big Pharma. I'm not trying to get shot. But you can also, if you are really against meds, there are plenty of homeopathic things that you can try and attempt and see if they help you before you go straight to meds and stuff. There are plenty of homeopathic things you can try as well and see if they help. I have lists of things that help with different things, so you can hit me up and we could talk about that in DMs. What's crazy is that while recording this, I remembered something I'd blocked out. Back in 2015, my brother was diagnosed with ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, and my dad joked, "You mean he's a teenager?" When I called him to fact check, he dropped this bombshell. The doctors wanted to medicate my brother, and my mom was all for it. My dad refused, so instead we got subjected to the worst family therapy sessions on earth, where my brother, who we were there for, would sit silently while my mom and I would scream at each other, and suddenly we were the ones being therapized. So it made me question, why was my mom so eager to medicate him, but she lost her mind over my antidepressants? According to my dad, and honestly it tracks, it came down to control. My brother's a man and she couldn't handle him. But me, I was weak, a girl, she could bully into submission, and that is the toxic gender shit that no one talks about. A son's rebellion is a disorder. A daughter's pain is drama. So to every woman told she's hysterical for needing help while men get excuses, I see you. And to every kid forced into performative therapy while their parents refuse to change, I was you. The thing about therapy though is it only works if you're willing to do the work. If you're not ready to talk about the hard shit, to actually face the problem, then yeah, it's not for you. Because therapy isn't magic, it's labor. It's ugly crying in your car after a session. It's rage texting your therapist at midnight because you finally connected a memory to why you flinch at raised voices. It's sitting with the fact that the people who hurt you will never do the work themselves. And that's why so many older gens write it off. They're not ready. I mean, I get it. Facing this shit is terrifying, but the anger, those tears, that's not failure. That's the medicine. And if you've ever walked out of therapy feeling as raw as an open wound, congrats, you're healing, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. The people I lived with, they drank, they yelled, or ignored their pain. And when I wanted to go to therapy, I was called the weak one. And they said that I was being weak. They said that I was doing it for attention. They called me a snowflake. The insults are all projection. Calling us soft for feeling things is just their shame talking. I stood up for myself and I stood up for my therapy. That's not attention seeking. That's breaking the cycle of abuse. To everyone that's been told that you're too sensitive for needing help, you're not. You're just the first generation brave enough to name the pain they refuse to face. And if that makes them uncomfortable, good. Maybe they'll finally start dealing with their own shit. To wrap up, if you're out there doing the work, going to therapy, taking your meds, feeling the big feelings even when it sucks, I'm so proud of you. And if your family still calls you a snowflake for it, let me remind you, strength isn't silence. Strength isn't pretending you're fine when you're not. Real strength is looking at the mess that they left you and saying, this ends with me. And to anyone who's still on the fence about therapy, I get it, it's scary, but so is staying stuck. So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this: you deserve to heal, even if they never do. Thank you so much for listening. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Or better yet, send it to one of those uncles or aunties in your life who still thinks therapy is for weak people. We'll wait. Until next time, when we spill more trauma.